to all the Geminis. Hello, you Gemini. Welcome for this horoscope, the monthly horoscope for September of 2012. What is going to happen during September of 2012, and in particular, in general, of course, but in particular for Geminis on a general scale? Well, I was a bit worried, not about Gemini, but I was a bit worried about the fact that during July and August, when you do these general horoscopes, it's always nice when a lot is happening, because then you have something to say, right? Or you think you've got something to say. But for this month in September, on a general look, there's not that much happening. Of course, it doesn't mean to say that in your life, on a personal level, if you look at your personal chart, that things are happening, because you can have a conjunction of a planet bang on a personal planet. So, but in general, it's not like, you know, this Pluto-Uranus square is not triggered by a faster planet at the moment, although it still is exact during this month of September. So I thought, what will I talk about? And this morning I saw this this very interesting dance, between Neptune and Saturn that is going to be relevant for all of us. And I'll talk about that in a minute, because first I want to take a general look for Gemini, and then I'm going to look specifically for Neptune, Saturn, for you Geminis, what it means. But let's just, so now I'm not going to take a look about Neptune and Pluto and Uranus. They all do the same stuff as last month, so I would be repeating myself. I don't like to repeat myself, but anyway. So what is going on for Gemini? Well, let's start with your ruler, because your ruler is doing good stuff this month. Or in the area for you, it's in especially the fourth house, the house of your home, the house of your roots, the house of your core. There is things that you can do that is good. And why is that? Because Mercury is going very fast through three signs, actually. The end of Leo, then Virgo in its own sign and exalted there. And then in Libra. And as Mercury is your ruler, I think the most important month will be during the second week and the middle of the month. Because not only Mercury is in there, but also the Sun will be there. So there's an emphasis on that fourth house. So Mercury is about talking. So what is it a good time for Geminis? Well, it's a good time to talk with your roots, actually. So to talk about your roots, to think about your roots, where do you come from, and to talk with people who are from the father line, so like ancestors or grandpa, grandma from father's side, if they're still alive, and are thinking about your roots, and because Mercury is about the thinking stuff. So that will do you good for the Gemini. So that's one thing. That's good energy. That's a planet in its own sign. And there's another planet in when you consider the traditional astrology, that is going to be in its own sign, and that is Mars. Mars is going through Scorpio during the whole month. Now Scorpio is your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth house. And that is a very important house. It's an underestimated house, I think, the sixth house. Now, it's in its own sign, which means that it has a lot of dignity. It can do good. It can do really good. So for you, it's a good time to start things concerning the sixth house. And the sixth house is all about our health. It's all about our work. It can be work, or the stuff that we do day to day. Like if you have your own company, it can be the day-to-day stuff that you're doing, like organizing things or planning things, or doing PR things. So the things that you have to do continuously, you can start with that. Or you can start with, it's also the house of small animals. Maybe now you're going to take action. You want to have 3 cats at home. or a dog. But I think the emphasis really is on the good energy of that Mars in the 6th house. And why is it so important, that 6th house? Because let's imagine that you're ill. It doesn't mean to say that you're going to be ill, but let's imagine when you are ill or when you have a severe disease. Everything becomes peanuts, doesn't it? That 6th house, that health, is the most important thing. So when Mars is in there, it means that it's good to take action, to stay healthy, to maybe exercise, maybe change diet, maybe doing things that are good for your health in a Scorpio way, maybe to to really start and go very deeply when it comes to changing or making your health better. It's a good time for that. You know, it's once in a year that, or mostly once in a year, that Mars is in that Scorpio sign of you for the 6th house. So take advantage of it if you're thinking about it. So that's good energy. What else? Well, Venus, yes, Venus is for you for a great deal of the month in the 3rd house in Leo. So that's all about communicating lovely, communicating from the heart, because it's in Leo. That's also very beautiful for you, for Gemini, to be able to communicate not on a picky way, or not on a, behind the surface, or no, on a very gentle, open heart way. So take advantage of that if you can, if you want to do that. Now, but what about this dance between Saturn and Neptune? Well, I explained, I think, in the horoscopes of July, that Saturn has almost ended its cycle in Libra. So it's almost there 2 years, 2.5 years. And for you, for Gemini, it has been Saturn in the 5th house. Am I correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. In the 5th house. So, very shortly explained, you have done your efforts when it considers your own creative projects, when it considers children, if you have children, when it considers romance and how you enjoy your life. So you have been facing your fears, you have been, because Saturn is also about fears. So you all have done this, and Saturn is at the very end of Libra, so which means that you sense that, hey, I'm going to get the fruits now, because Saturn, as I explained earlier, only gives you the present when it has ended its transit. Now, what is going on with Neptune? Why is Neptune interfering? It's not interfering, but it's a dance that those two are making. And there's something in ancient astrology that is called Antision. Now, I'm not going to explain that in detail because it would take me too long. But Antision is very interesting. When 2 points meet together in Antision, it has its meaning. And it's going to be meaningful in the next month too, in October, because those 2 planets, Saturn and Neptune, are going to meet each other, not in Antision, but in a trine. So it's meaningful, especially during the 2 last weeks of the month. Now, very briefly, what is Antision? It's every force in the universe, in this case Saturn, has its counterforce, and in this case it's Neptune. So it's a kind of, people call it shadow, but I don't think that's a good word. It's something that is hidden, and it's a kind of a mirror. So those 2 planets, Saturn and Neptune, come together in that point. And why is that? Now, in every sign there are 30 degrees, right? 30 degrees. Now, when Saturn is now approaching, let's say, 29 degrees at the end of the month, it means that its Antision point is 30 degrees minus 29 degrees. That's 1 degree. And it's in Pisces. That's the Antision sign. There are rules around that I'm not going to go into. So it means that the Antision point of 29 degrees of Libra is 1 degree of Pisces. And who's there at 1 degree of Pisces? Neptune is there, which means that, and of course, when Saturn is transiting 28 degrees. It will be at 2 degrees of Pisces, and so on. So there is this dance going on between those two planets at the very end of the month, especially the last week of the month. And it means that those two energies, they are conjuncting, but not, it's hidden. So behind the surface, actually they are acting together. Which means you have to understand these two planets. It's very simple. They are each other's, they don't understand each other in the real world. Saturn wants rules, wants boundaries. Neptune doesn't want rules and doesn't want boundaries. That's very easy. So when those two come together, it's a challenge. It's but a challenge for enlightenment afterwards. And I think that well, enlightenment in that specific area, in your case, in the 6th house, and sorry, in the 5th house. And what does it mean? It means that Saturn, so it can be the case that you think, oh yes, I've got it, when it comes to, you know, the way that you enjoy yourself, and the way that, you know, the areas of life that I talked about, that 5th house, you think that you get it, but Neptune confuses it. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that, because Saturn is about the truth, the real world, what is manifesting before your eyes, and Neptune is really confusing. But there's a reason for that, because it wants to show you, hey, there are other worlds. It's not always fantasy, but it's higher ideals too. And those two are mixing. So very easily summarized, it could be that you get it and then you lose it immediately again. So it could be that you get stuff when it considers 5th house activity. When it considers romance in your life, you get it. Yes, I know how this person is, and then you lose it again. So it's like you're in there, you touch it and you can sense it, or you can sense it, you can't touch it, you can sense it, and then it's gone again. And the advice I want to give you is, don't be confused, because next month it will become clear, and you will understand why it was so confusing. So that's very much the energy of Saturn and Neptune, which is very challenging but very beautiful when it is understood, because it means that you can manifest your higher ideals, that when it considers your 5th house. And that is an important thing in this world, isn't it? It's not just this Saturn realm, it's also, you know, the connection with our higher ideals, with the higher consciousness. And I think that's a good thing. So that's for you, Gemini, for the month of September. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for all your comments, and thank you very much for the readings that you've been ordering, and etc, etc. Thank you, and see you again next month. Bye bye, Gemini.